Welcome to another edition of the Idea Exchange, where we discuss the biggest challenges and opportunities in the Pro AV industry today, and hope to provide some solutions that may even be beneficial for you. And while this is a podcast, we encourage all of our listeners to participate in the conversation on the Avixa Exchange. Today, we're talking about higher education. Students today have greater expectations for their collegiate experience than we've ever seen before. And there are loads of new tools that educators can be leveraging to deliver on those expectations. It's going to be a great conversation. My name is Mark Metzger, and I'm joined by my three guests. First is Ankur Ahlowalia. He's the CEO at Korbyt. Ankur, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And next up, we have Lex Evans. She's a customer experience designer at the University of Southern California. Lex, how are you doing?
I'm so great. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. And finally, we have Lance Ford, who's an education advocate and Zoom room specialist with Zoom. Lance, how are you?
I'm doing extraordinarily well, Mark. Thank you for caring enough to ask, my friend.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, let's jump right into it. First, Lex, I'd like to start with you. I mentioned this a moment ago, but expectations for students are very different today than even 5, 10, 15 years ago. And certainly the pandemic did a lot to really evolve those expectations. As someone who is working on a college campus, would you mind describing for us how have student expectations changed for the way that they expect AV systems to be implemented in college campuses today?
Sure. I think the biggest element there is that they want the technology to be, for lack of better words, almost invisible. It needs to be, they expect it to just work really well in the background and not have to think about, how it works or anything like that. And so I think the expectations now are quick info, easy info, timely information, visually pleasing. It needs to be part of the environment. It's not really as impressive to them anymore. So it's the basic bottom line is that it's held up to that standard now, which, I feel like is really exciting because then we're really challenged to make bigger and better content, and which has really allowed for a lot of creativity. So yeah, that's been kind of the expectations that's built today.
And Lance, what about you? From your perspective, obviously Zoom was a critical part of almost everyone's lives when the pandemic first hit. But how has that changed higher education in particular and the way that students connect with their classrooms and with their content?
Well, part of the challenge, Mark, is that students expect things to work a little differently now than they did, 2 or 3 years ago. And by that, I mean they're expecting an individualized experience that really can either hit them where they are. They may decide they want to be with their peers. That may be physically in a room. That may be remotely with a group of peers, or may simply be by themselves. And what that means for me as an instructor is when I walk into a classroom full of AV, that AV does not need to be the topic of my music class. I'm an adjunct for our little college up the highway here. It can't be the topic of that class. It has to be the conduit for that class, regardless of where a student chooses to participate from and how they choose to participate. So I think Zoom kind of opened the door to that, and it has now become an expectation, if you will, for flexible learning experiences. Again, where AV is just simply the conduit, and it has to be transparent. I cannot say that enough. If we're spending time in my class talking about technology, then I'm not spending time talking about and working through content. So that's what it means to me, Mark.
Yeah. Ankur, let's go to you now. You've heard a little bit some of those expectations and things, but from your perspective, from Korbyt's perspective, maybe what are some of those kind of baseline expectations that students should have and that staff on campus should be considering? What are some of the baseline technologies that they ought to have in place to have a successful AV system?
Yeah, I think what Lex and Lance hit on is spot on. It's all about the student experience. It's their technology advanced professional educators. They're going to school. They're learning new They're obviously out there picking up skills that will help them land a job or advance their careers. Student experience, I think it starts with signage has a big impact. It's the largest screen on campus, right? So it immediately grabs your attention. So as universities and technologists like us, we are trying to maximize that experience through signage. So various ways you could do it is having fresh, relevant content is very key. Key integrations with other technologies, whether it's emergency management systems or social media channels and so on. So as students are walking through campus, they need wayfinding solutions to find their classroom. That is one application of it. But then as they're in the classroom, as Lance has, as he said, as he teaches these classes, signage cannot be a distraction. The technology cannot be a distraction. It has to enable the experience of the classroom to come out. And we also have these days, a lot of remote learning happening as well, right? There are sometimes colleges are allowing students to join online. So the experience, whether you're in the classroom or remote, signage can definitely play a big role in that. And we've been in business for 40 years. We've seen all kinds of use cases. I mean, USC is one of the top premier universities of the world. One of the things a lot of our students that use our technology is to share student memories. For example, they're at a football game. Trojans are playing. They're in the stadium. They score a touchdown. Somebody captures an exciting image with their friends or other college. They're able to send those or upload those through our platform to the communicator, who can then decide whether those videos or images are something they want to broadcast out to the university. So driving both the student experience and then the engagement of the students, keeping them well-versed on everything the university wants them to know, but also allowing them to share their experiences. I think that's the new way that I've seen universities now driving the student engagement and experience.
Yeah, and Lex, from your perspective too, I mean, students have changed. I mean, we've got digital native, and I don't want to speak for anyone else on this podcast, but I know for me, in my age, the college experience is very different nowadays than when I was there in school. What are the ways in which, again, students coming from this digital native background and having so much experience interacting and engaging with AV systems, how does that change the dynamic too on campus, Lex, from your perspective?
There's a couple elements I want to bring up. One is that they really want it to be an all-encompassing experience. So everything from, like what I mentioned before, the timely content, visually pleasing content. It also includes elements of safety, emergency messaging, instantaneous messaging. That can be really important throughout the university. And having the other element is having it kind of build a sense of community. So from the content side of things, having consistent branding, like Ankur said, is having memories up there. They're a part of the signage. And what's been really wonderful for the universities is discovering how much signage can offer. I think it took a little bit of time for full adoption, but I've already seen on campus, our central comms is realizing the value of that and the value of having the control, and all that allows the freedom for us to post with the students, with the community at the university, with faculty, with staff, and get that information out there far easier than it was before. So I think as digital natives go, they expect that. It's wonderful for them. It's an easy way to get information when they're going back and forth to classes, and also being able to really specialize it to the area. So really focusing on making it relevant to them because they're so used to the technology and so used to information immediately being put before them within their phones and things like that. That's super important. So those are some of the big points of the digital signage. And another thing I wanted to bring up is trend forecasting and the integrated signage when it comes to making sure we're on top of those trends, making it fun and pop and exciting. And that's the fun thing about digital signage is that because we can update it instantaneously, because the content is constantly rotating, we can make it fun. We can keep on top of the trends, and then also focusing on making sure that information gets to them right away, and using QR codes, different things like that, so that they don't have to go back and find that information. It's immediately accessible to them, not only visually in front of them, but it can go directly to their devices. And then also seeing the continuity within the classrooms while they're sitting and waiting for the class to start. You see the updates and relevant information like maybe traffic, weather, social media updates from the university, from public safety. There's just so many convenient things about digital signage that is both expected and also wonderful and surprising to the students who may not have seen that before.
Yeah, I think Lex hit on this a little bit. So our solution, Korbyt solution, is deployed at USC. Our signage solution is deployed at USC in various use cases. From, as I was talking earlier, from whether it's, please correct me, Lex, because I may not be accurate on this, but my understanding is it's from wayfinding to all signage across the campuses, whether it's helping students navigate to their classrooms, and then there is signage across the campus. It's whether it's communications from USC, the student communications from the universities, or its experiences, memories, all of the above that we talked about. That's been our partnership with USC and growing with that as well. And Lex, I'll let you add, and I can add on top of that if I missed something.
So we don't use Korbyt all across campus yet. So Korbyt is in all of the classrooms and spaces that learning environment specifically owns. But that's a huge element of what my job as the digital signage manager is because this partnership is working out so well with our content managers, seeing how easy it is for them to upload their content, use the system, the CMS. We tried a couple, and this one we really landed on Korbyt because of how easy and intuitive it is to use. The training is really quick. The customer service is super wonderful and quick. We've only had wonderful experiences with them. So developing a program, a training, and their own ownership for the content uploading and the management for their specific devices has been really wonderful. And so we've been using these use cases to slowly evangelize the university and take one building at a time as the goal. And especially developing relationships with central comms, which has been huge. Usually we're kind of separate silos. So being able to integrate it together and show the value of having one system to help across the university. So that has been really lovely, being able to have a really great CMS system and the impact of that, the impact of having easy to use signage and something that maybe digital natives or not so digital natives are comfortable using. That was a big difference.
I think integrations is one of our biggest strengths of our platform, how quickly we can do native integrations. And as USC looks to make that content more and more exciting, whether it's integrations with Zoom and give that better classroom experience, which we have already started. We have several customers where there's Zoom meeting rooms going on, meetings going on. As soon as the meetings end, those screens turn into communication screens. And a lot of our customers are also using QR codes, as Lex mentioned, in all these signage screens, especially in these classrooms where as soon as the class is done, the signage screen starts pumping out some messages. You have a QR code, a student can click on the QR code, fill out a survey, or give their feedback on the content or ideas, like to let people like Lex. And I wish I would see more and more of exciting student memory content, that kind of thing. So that gives a two-way communication. So integrations is our biggest strength of the platform. Obviously been in business 40 years, and we still are deployed in police 911 centers. So it's built for mission critical. So we're very proud of the fact our system doesn't go down compared to our competitors. And it's important. A blank screen kills the experience for students. And that's the last thing we want. So I just wanted to add that one. So
that's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, Mark, following up on what Ankur's saying here, I mean, Korbyt is one of the first partners that Zoom and Zoom Rooms / Spaces has actually integrated. So at the marketplace, which is marketplace.zoom.us, you can roll right out there. You can find the Korbyt plugin for your organization. And once you do that, then you can simply assign it by floor. You can assign it by building. You can assign it by campus. To Lex's point, sometimes the signage that's going on in engineering is not necessarily appropriate for language arts, and vice versa. Students expect to see things that are contextually situated as they engage with these screens. And so from a Zoom rooms / spaces perspective, combined with a Korbyt perspective, Lex can get exactly what she needs where she needs it. And the instant those live engagements go off, then content like you see behind me comes up, right? Whether it's video content, whether it's recognition of particular students and the things they're doing, or upcoming events.
All right, so Lance, we've talked generally about some examples of how content can create a better experience for college students. What other examples come to mind for you of the ways that we can be better leveraging these systems to engage with students?
Well, one of the things Ankur mentioned was this idea that the students could contribute, maybe from a memory book, from videos, from images that they had. And I think anytime we can crowdsource content from the people who are going to be watching it, we really immediately initiate buzz. Because what's going to happen, undoubtedly, is a student's going to tell another student like this, hey, I just uploaded so-and-so from the game last night. Keep an eye out for it, right? And so people are drawn and looking proactively for content. Then they're going to respond with, well, how can I do that? And all of a sudden, we've built a community. So, I mean, why does someone choose USC to go to as a university? It's because of the experience that they have. How do we get them on campus to really experience student life? We build relationships. How do we empower relationships? We have them communicate with each other. And as we have seen here, this idea that we can have individual students put content up there that does nothing more than just pulls people together. Now, to Lex's point, right? It's not going to need to be the same content in engineering that's sitting over in language arts. We need to have individual students from those organizations contributing to that, obviously through some sort of a filtered mechanism, as Lex has stated, to make sure they're not just putting garbage up there, but still letting them own it, I think, Mark, really changes the dynamic of campus. And if you look at any social media platform, that's what it's all about. It's about building community through contribution.
Yeah, because it takes passive platforms in one sense. I mean, you think about a digital display, you could just walk right by it. But suddenly when you're engaging with that and contributing to it, that creates a totally different dynamic. And you're absolutely right, increases that engagement. Ankur, I would love to talk a little bit about the partnership between Korbyt and USC. You've been supporting now University of Southern California for a few years. Talk to us a little bit about when they first approached Korbyt. What were some of the things that they were looking to achieve, and how has Korbyt helped them achieve those goals?
Yeah, if I recall correctly, this was a competitive situation. I think they were the university was looking at several solutions. I think where we were able to win their business, and as Lex said, we're deployed in some places and hopefully deploying in others as we show our value to it. I think ease of administration was a big, I'm sure, deciding factor. How easy it is for somebody in Lex's position, an administrator, to manage this contents between different screens, integrations, how easy it's to do the integrations. I can't tell you how much some of my competitors claim to do integrations, but then when the time comes, it's up to the administrator to do it manually, and they're picking up data from it via real time. And I think our student memory concept is I feel the best experience we got in the industry. Just the way a student we have big deployments at other universities. Kentucky is our biggest customer. They can go right at the website. For Kentucky website, there's a login page. They can go and log in, upload their content, and it sends it off to the administrator. So those kind of things, obviously integrations are huge, whether it's keeping them students safe with emergency alerts, or student experience in the classroom with Zooms, or anything else. Social media, we do a lot of, we have about 300 plus integrations we do. So it depends on the university and how they wish to deployment. This may be an off topic here, Mark. Later this year, we are going to be releasing AI, and it's an AI targeted towards content. And we're in early stages of this. Where a lot of our customers, large enterprises, I'm sure universities as well, if the AI can be smart and do audience targeting. For example, Lance said in engineering, Maybe there's certain type of content the AI can pull out and show at certain times of the day, and so on. So there's a lot of work that we see that we're doing in the AI side of just to make the content engaging, refreshing, clever playlist, at different times of the day, changing the content dynamically. And obviously, as administrators, they have to approve which content plays, but the AI could be the one deciding. So you see a world heading that way, and content is going to be a pretty big one.
Well, that's really incredible. Yeah, I mean, we are kind of come to expect the ways that algorithms and machine learning has tailored experiences for us. But thinking about how that relates to digital signage is really going to be fascinating to watch. Lex, could you talk to us a little bit about the impact then that these Korbyt systems have had on your students, your faculty, and your staff?
Yeah, so there's a couple elements. One is consistent branding. When I first stepped onto the university, that was one of the big things that I noticed. The signage had too many words. There was no call to action. It was basically uploaded flyers. So one of the elements we were looking for when we were trying to find a CMS system and trying them all out was templates. I don't think that that's especially special to Korbyt. There's a couple that's kind of the base level, but what had us picking Korbyt over other ones was, again, I was really focused on how easy that a CMS system was to work and how consistent it was. And if it was always up, the customer service based on my user surveys with our content managers, that was the biggest thing that we were looking for. So I had my team specifically, I picked people who weren't technical natives, and then I picked members of my team to test out the system, and that one won out in the end by far. So that has been wonderful that it offers templates. It offers consistent branding within the platform that they can use, and we use the appropriate colors with the appropriate hex codes and all of that. So that was really wonderful. And so the impact was huge. Visually, I'm big on the visuals. It just looked cleaner. The call to actions was stronger. People who were uploading the content saw a lot more feedback, a lot more use of, or they saw visually a lot more people visiting their sites, and the call to actions was working, and it was easy for the students to use, and it didn't really take them long at all to adapt to the new signage. I think it was easy to use, so I don't think it took a lot at all. And also, the content became more exciting because it was easy to use the system. They were willing to put their brain power elsewhere and think, okay, now we can think further about what the content can be. So maybe having some videos, some animations have been huge. And those are all such fun ways to contribute. So I'm really excited for the AI because I feel like some of our users really, I think that they maybe they don't have like a strong graphic background, and they're just an administrator in a building, and they just happen to be in charge of the content. So if people aren't giving them content, maybe their content isn't changing as much as it needs to be to really keep the students and the faculty and the staff's attention. So I think that would be really neat for those content managers. Right now, I employ student workers, especially within graphic design and different things like that, who design for different departments if they would like that service. But I think maybe the AI might be faster if they're not willing to wait. I'd really be interested to see how that is adopted over the next couple years and see how that grows. So the partnership has been great, wonderful. There's a reason why we've been with them for several years, and why we feel like the relationship's going to continue, especially because they're staying on top of those trends, which is super important, and not falling behind in what they're offering.
And Ankur, one of the other benefits with Korbyt is the ability to integrate with other systems as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. We have over 300 real-time integrations. So these are different technologies, whether it's emergency management systems or social media platforms, or technologies like Zoom and ServiceNow and others, depending on how the universities are using this. We also Mark, we also have capabilities using the optics camera. We have machine learning where some of our banks, we have clients that are banks, somebody standing in front of a screen, the content can change. Right now we have simple use cases like a male versus female is standing and the content can change. And it's pretty big in retail side of things. So down the line, there's some privacy concerns, with people with cameras, but I can see a world down the line where it's all about content, all about experiences, all about what the screen can do, not only show, but take feedback through QR codes or dynamically changes with AI or some other factor. So I think there's a lot we could do. Dynamic audience targeting is also pretty big for us. We have 33 different attributes where we can dynamically change content on a screen. We are like GPS coordinates are very famous for us. So we have large deployments, 10,000 globally, where somebody administrators trying to manage the different screens, the GPS coordinates that they could control one screen over others. And we can do it by users. We can do it by different types of students, engineering versus. So a lot of things we could do. And I appreciate USC's business and Zoom's partnership with us, but that's where it's all heading, in my opinion.
I was going to say, Lance, talk to us a little bit about the integration with Zoom as well. This is a pretty exciting feature, right?
Absolutely. So one of the little known things about Zoom Rooms / Zoom Spaces is that digital signage is an opportunity that doesn't cost any more money from Zoom. But you want to put quality content. To Ankur's point, he said it several times. It's really about the quality of the content that's on it, not just having something on it, right? So to my knowledge, in our marketplace area, Korbyt is the first partner that we have that has come forth and said, hey, we've got a digital signage solution. We can plug it directly into your Zoom Rooms / Zoom Spaces. So when they're not in meetings, immediately after class, as class is beginning, you heard Lex talk about that. You see contextual information. We're giving shout outs for happy birthdays, recognitions of individuals. You may have digital media that students are creating or producing, AI generated content in the future, as Ankur has mentioned. So having the ability to simply have that built in as an extension of a Zoom room or space is huge. It's literally in the drop down. So for those of you who have Zoom Rooms or Zoom Spaces, if you'd like to go to your marketplace, marketplace.zoom.us, just look real quickly for Korbyt. You'll find it. You'll be able to do a plug-in and an initial process. I'm sure, Ankur, that you got a team ready to help them get content started and see what that's actually about.
That's right. Yeah, just to add to that, Mark, the Zoom partnership, I think there's a lot of traction there. We have a number of enterprises, some as big as 10,000 Zoom rooms. They're all looking at how do we change these rooms into, communication screens, because keeping employees in meeting rooms is where a lot of magic's happening, and at least in the enterprise, and students are spending a lot of times in classrooms as well. So that's a big foundation of experience and engagement right there.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic and really exciting to hear about the ways that these AV systems can better engage with students from a content perspective, learning perspective, also from a safety perspective. All of these things are really, really fascinating. So thank you all for taking the time to chat with us. I want to get you out of here kind of on this last question. Lance, I'm going to start with you. For someone who works in the higher education space, maybe what's one piece of advice that you could give them in terms of considering how they can better leverage digital signage and other systems like that to enhance the experience for everyone involved?
From what I'm experiencing right now globally, I got to say this. Visual interest or engagement is basically driven by the individual. And it's fun that Ankur is saying AI, I'll date myself real quick. I'm thinking back to, I think it was Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is wandering through the mall and the mall is saying, hey, so-and-so, come by it's recognizing him. I don't think we're quite to that point yet, right? But the ability to have that individualized process so that I feel like I'm a part of what I'm seeing, that means it's founded in relevant content, and it calls them for interactivity. I think the way Lex said it was, there's a call to action. We want you to do something because you're experiencing this content. I think anytime we do that, then we have created a culture of collaboration and a culture of relationship. And that is what differentiates one institution from another. Lex has mentioned the color. She's mentioned the branding. She's mentioned the who USC is experience via their signage. And that's exactly what draws students onto that campus. So that's my key takeaway from our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Lex, what about you? From your perspective, what advice would you have, drawing on some of your experience at USC, but what advice would you have for someone who is in the higher education space?
So I've talked to a couple university AV managers, and I think a trend I'm kind of picking up on is people are afraid that maybe since they're smaller schools that they aren't able to do something that USC does, and then they immediately write it off. I want to caution against that, because while maybe we have some of the facilities to be able to be a little farther ahead when it comes to the technology, they are more than capable of making really great digital signage. So my key takeaway is to have fun with it, to keep it simple, and then start as a baseline there. It's simple template and work from there, and to include the students in it. You know, you can get overwhelmed by maybe creating content, but why do that when by including students and faculty, you can have content just given to you? So start small, have fun, and really include the community.
That's great. Ankur, final word from you. What kind of advice would you have for someone in the higher education space about the ways that they can be utilizing these technologies?
Yeah, again, it's the biggest screen you got on campus. It emits a blue light. Anybody walking, your eyes are going to gravitate towards a digital signage screen, just natural human behavior. What do you want that screen to say, right? That's number one. It's your one chance. They are looking at the screen, whether it's something very interactive or a blank screen, but everybody will look at it. What do you want them to say, right? So it's all the things we talked about, the content. Also, as they're entering into the workforce and joining enterprises or companies or becoming business owners, if you're joining an enterprise today, the experience is very similar. That's what companies are also looking to do, right? So a student experiencing the power of digital signage and seeing how they can share that experience at the university, get connected to the brand, whether it's Trojans or otherwise, and then moving to the workplace. I think it's an experience you need to give these guys so that as they move to the workplace, they're used to that kind of communication channel, which is a very powerful visual communication channel. So that's the only thing I would add to what Lance and Lex said.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for the time. This has really been a great conversation. So exciting to hear about the ways that USC and other campuses across the country are leveraging these technologies. Certainly, if you are a listener or a part of the audience and you would like to take part in this conversation, we encourage you to go on the Xchange and post your own thoughts, whether you're part of a large college campus like USC or a smaller one as well. What are some of the ways that you're using this technology, and how is it changing the experience for your students, your faculty, and for everyone involved? So on behalf of all of us, thank you again for the time. For Lance, Lex, and Ankur, really appreciate all your insights, and we'll talk again soon.